Hey, thanks for tuning in to an episode of Listen to Larry with your host, Larry Bammer, One Real Mortgage.
And there, if I can,
Until they either refinance or something.
Western work ethic.
something that I like to do.
You need my help.
I made this
Happy to be here.
Like, oh my gosh.
having you.
60-day rent back for free. Hey there, this is a special episode of Listen to Larry, and it is because your host is not Larry today. I'm actually joined by not a guest, but I'll call him a co-host for today.
Oh, wow. That's an honor.
Aaron Robinson, the founder of DreamX Studios. Let me give you a little background of what we're even doing here. There was a time where I wanted to do a podcast because I had it in a vision, and from marketing people in the industry, that if I could have content that's recorded, not just audio, but video content, I can use that podcast video for Reels, for Spotify, for long form, short form content. Gosh, I could even press pause and have a still image.
Right.
And then all of a sudden one day, an ad popped up on my Instagram
Of my face.
of your face.
Yeah.
And probably 6 or 8 different studios. And I was like, wow, this is a setup. I came in expecting, I don't know what I was expecting. So I'm thrilled today to share the stage with the founder, Aaron. So
Thank you.
there's a lot of people that we're going to be watching this podcast that are in the real estate space, that are realtors, that have been told like, oh, I gotta do a podcast, gotta do a video. But there's a lot of people that I'm learning who just want to do a podcast. They might be a guest I had on that now wants to do her own podcast. Business owners. So I'm excited today to dive into in 30 minutes, like your experience and background, how it's helped me so far in developing my podcast, and tips and tricks and ideas that you have to help them start their own. So with
Awesome.
all of that,
Where do I start?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Thanks for having me. Should I start with my background?
Yeah.
I guess in short, I'll try and keep it short. I've been in production, we call it, for 15 years now. Graduated from film school, went straight into my own business. Started out making music videos with one of the big 3 labels, Island Def Jam, Universal Music. We were having a lot of fun, spending a lot of money making music videos. It wasn't my world.
Yeah.
So that didn't stick. I wanted to be a part of the corporate world, be a part of making cool TV commercials.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I kind of forced our company and my partner into that direction. And I got closer and closer into Orange County. So yeah, I've been doing that ever since. My primary production company, we do corporate commercial work, corporate documentary work. Our budgets are $30,000 to $350,000, big projects. But I also worked with building a lot of personal brands for the last 5 or 6 years. Different entrepreneurs, many that people watching this probably know in Orange County.
Yeah.
Not just that, but also doing ads for some of their businesses as well. But working on building personal brands has been rewarding and cool and fun. And what came out of that was this company is I wanted to start a podcast. I had a lot of friends and business owners and customers who wanted to start a podcast. And so sort of DreamX Studios was born out of that. So we primarily do service customers and doing more long form content, podcast shows, which, you can turn into content arbitrage, I like to call it, where you're, disseminating all of that into all sorts of reels across various different platforms. But yeah, so that's what we do. We do, production on one end and personal branding on the other.
So I'm getting into my podcast for the people that are watching, what's like the foundation? What's step 0 besides being committed and saying, okay, I am going to do a podcast? What does that person need to do next?
I would say the first thing is, and we touched on this earlier, is understanding. And I know it's true. I know it's something that everyone says, but you really need to understand your audience. You need to understand what your audience needs, how to speak to them, their language, their pains, their concerns, what they stay up at night and think about. And that's going to help you connect with them deeper. I would first say it starts though with your goal, because your goal might be not necessarily your audience. Your goal might be some sort of subset of that audience. So like what I mean by that is one of the reasons why I think podcasting is such a great format is it's long tail, it's sustainable. You can sit here in this format and talk for an hour, and it's fun. And especially if you have the money for it, you can come into a studio like this, have great high level conversations, hang out with people you want to actually meet, talk to, maybe become their friend. And then out of that, a team can create tons of different pieces of content out of that. So that's incredibly valuable. And I'm getting way off topic, but to go back to that, goal is very important. So with a podcast, your goal might be more sales. Your goal might be exposure. Then your goal is, who are you talking to specifically? Are you talking to homeowners? Are you talking to sellers? And so you would tailor your format, the type of subject matter, and the content overall for that audience. If you're looking to attract billionaire buyers, you're going to create a different kind of podcast than if you're trying to attract buyers who are looking to buy, $1 or $2 million home.
So behind the Wizard of Oz curtain, my goal is, as a loan officer, I want to meet borrowers that will close more loans. So that's my goal. But my goal is maybe it is the borrower watching, but right now it's the entrepreneur, it's a realtor. A lot of my guests are real estate agents. Try to bring them up, to showcase them, to give them content, great content to share across all the social channels, and with that, then it's more exposure for me.
Right.
So there's all kinds of different ways. So, okay, I've got my my goal. I've got my audience. What's the next step?
The next step? Well, I'm trying to avoid the technicality, right? It's not so much about, I guess one thing that's really important is, well, maybe that's not so important. I was going to say budget.
That's huge.
Well, it's what level do you want to be at? It's tough. Like nowadays we have a lot of virtual podcasts, and virtual podcasts are easy to do. But what's easy and free to do is going to be a noisy environment to compete in. And so I definitely recommend a higher level of production if you're trying to attract someone who wants to connect with someone who looks like they're more of an authority. If you're just looking to connect with people who are talking about, let's say, sex, it can be a low budget, production in a living room, or have one camera or no camera at all. But what's next? One of the things I think I would say is most important, and this is separate from the show, is I would focus on where you want to be in a year and then in 5 years. And the reason why I say that is because, a lot of people will say, well, I want my show, and I don't think this is the right, method for them if they're looking for their show to be profitable in 3 months. I think Joe Rogan took years for his show to be successful. Ryan Panetta, also Alex Hormozi talks about this. It really took him, I think he said something like 3 or 4 years of consistency for his show to really catch on. And so it's a medium that takes a while. And so you're not going to be successful out of the gate. But the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people get into it and invest money thinking, okay, well, this is going to pay for itself.
Yeah.
It's important to focus on all the ways you're going to get a return on that. Connecting, exposure, maybe using some of the content for ads, using some of the content obviously for social media, different connections you're building, relationships you're building that are going to turn into deals, and all these other plays that you might have. And then what I'm really getting at too is it's important to not just focus on your social media, but also I like to think of not just social media, but your ads and your offers are very important too. So the reason why I say this is one of the most valuable pieces of advice, $1 million advice that I got when I was working on a personal brand that we did not listen to. We were having a lot of fun, shooting a lot of videos. We had a show going. We had, I think, 5 pieces of content going out across YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these different platforms, having a lot of fun, spending a lot of money on a big team, and we were making no money. And so we asked this very big, consultant. He has a big show that he does, and he said, stop everything. You guys are not focused on the money. You need to focus on your offer, and then go back to the content. We didn't listen. We were having fun. But I think that's very important too. So if you're getting into this and you just have a show, but you're not focused on the money, that's just important to not lose sight of, I would say.
Well, that makes sense. That way, so it's a casual conversation if you want to burn money, but if you want it to be profitable, you need to always think like, okay, what is the offer? What is the call to action? What is the purpose of it? And realize, just like realtors, there's a thing called farming. That's like literally, it's the old school way. I think podcasting could totally be the new school way, because of the reach that, especially on YouTube, Google YouTube ads, right? The exposure you can get for pennies. But farming, they say, if you're going to mail postcards to a neighborhood of several hundred homes, it's going to take 12 to 18 months to see that return on investment. So your cautionary advice, be prepared to budget. What's it going to take to do this for 12 months? Because it could be 12 months of doing it before you see that return.
Right. Big brands are people. Nowadays, we look at big commercials and wonder why Nike is still spending money on them. It's for exposure. It's also, I don't know if I should call it this. It's also to look cool, but it's also part of having all of these touch points.
Yep.
So you are a massive brand that people recognize, people value, but also your people are seeing you everywhere.
Yep.
So they're seeing you at the Super Bowl. They're seeing you on billboards. They're seeing you, as well as they're running just as many ads, if not more, than everyone else. And so it's important to have these touch points for a big company like that, as well as for someone like me. You were talking about another guest you had here on the show who mentioned she got our ad, started filling it out, and didn't complete it because she didn't know what she wanted her studio to look like. And so we see that every day. There's a lot of people who come across our ads or maybe see someone else's pieces of content, and they kind of cross our path. They get lost somewhere or they come back. And so you have to have maybe about 7 or 10 touch points before, as probably in your market as well, closing people.
I think that's marketing, period, not just podcasts. Because the guest I had on, Valerie, she actually, I don't know how many times she saw that ad on Instagram.
Probably twice.
But she remembered the name, your company name, GMX Studios. So goal, audience, budget. Now, I mean, when I think budget, I think of like how is the podcast created? Like the actual, like, okay, I've got my
equipment,
showing my I'm blessed at your studio to have 3 cameras to get all of my good angles.
I like to tell people when they're starting out, you can really start with something as small as your phone. It's true. It doesn't serve my company, but the truth is you do have to get comfortable too being in front of the camera. One thing I would tell clients when I was helping build their personal brand is I would encourage them to go live every day, every single day. Not only does that help your social media, but also it helps the algorithm. You know, you're gonna increase in terms of your followers, you're going to increase in terms of your engagement, but also you're going to become more comfortable with the camera. Just that rawness and just getting all of the limiting beliefs out of your head and just saying whatever you're feeling. I think I heard someone say a few days ago that it's almost like you want to be comfortable focusing on 5% of the coolest, craziest things that happen in your life, as well as 5% of the worst. But that's tough for people is feeling comfortable sharing. And so I think it's important to start wherever you can start. And that's definitely what I would do. And so you could start with an iPhone. You could step it up to a small camera and a microphone. You can step it up to a studio if you have the money. But start somewhere. And that's important too, because consistency, especially in podcasting, is everything. You never want to start a show unless you can be consistent with, you can take a break, you can have a hiatus, but you want your show to go out every week consistently for, I would say, 6 months, and then tell your followers, hey, I'm going to take 2 months off or 3 months off or whatever it is, and then come back to it. But you want to maintain consistency, even if that means you blitz like I did in the beginning. I started my show, shot 30 episodes in I think 3 weeks, and I haven't shot since. You can do that. Just blitz, get all of your content done. But yeah, that consistency is very, very important. And so I would start in whatever way that you can remain consistent.
So that probably is why when I sign up now for my filming days, it's like I do 8 hours a month, and it's all in one day, and we get all the content done. And then I have content, if I'm going to put it out once a month, I've got more than enough content. Quite frankly, I probably have enough to do maybe even twice a month, but consistency. So consistency is just consistency in how often you're putting it. But is there should I be paying attention as a new podcaster to when? So not just frequency of every week I'm going to post it consistently, and not skip 2 weeks and then do 2 videos in 1 week.
Right.
But is the day of the week or time of the day, is any of that important?
It is, but it also depends. I think you can create a pattern that works for you and ends up working for your followers. So if you like to release something on Sundays and that works best for you for whatever reason that is, and you get people to tack onto that, then that works. But yeah, there are specific days for every platform that you get the most engagement from releasing at that time and on that day, for sure.
And they vary from platform to platform. So trying to say I'm going to post it Monday at 10 o'clock, that might
and
work.
by audience too.
Yeah.
If you're trying to connect with kids, it's probably not best to release during the school hours, right? If you are connecting with, entrepreneurs, I find a lot of entrepreneurs end up watching a lot of content after hours, or even in the wee hours. It really depends on what the goal is, who you're speaking to, who the audience is. But yeah, I think it's always safe to release content in the day prior to lunchtime or in the afternoon. But with long form, I would say it's less important though. I think, I'm not a YouTube expert. I think that they would probably say that there is value in that, but also really your thumbnail probably means more. The first few seconds of your video probably means significantly more over the time that you post.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So one of the to get the jitterbugs out was going live every morning and just practicing being live and raw and stuff. What are some other good tips for people getting into podcasting to help them?
I mean, this is similar. I would say you would want to. People love. There's nothing wrong with being authentic and real and honest, and people really connect with authenticity. And so if you stumble, if you have a lisp, if you have a family and your family's around all the time and they're screaming in the back of your videos, all these things, if that's authentic to you, and especially when you lean into that, people connect with that. Everyone knows, I think most people know that really polarizing people tend to win. You're either going to have a lot of people who hate you, but you're going to definitely have a huge tribe of people who love you, who buy anything you share about, who will watch anything you put out. And so I would say that's a really big thing, is to just figure out how you can force yourself to be comfortable being authentically you. You don't need to create any sort of character to be successful. If you do, work on trying to make kind of a variation of who you are and how you come across. Make sure that the soul of that is authentic to you.
So you have some of the like craziest, best equipment. I feel like every time I walk in here, I'm like on a sound stage at Universal Studios.
That's what I want.
Yeah, it's working. But not everyone can have that. I can't have that. I get that when I come here. Is there a starter package? Like, is there something that if I'm going to use my phone and an iPhone stand at home to start that because I'm on a low budget until I get going, is there certain equipment that makes sense? Like,
I would say even I encourage clients with, $10 million a year to build their personal brand to still do professional, and I call it raw content.
Yeah.
So to your point, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, you can start with a simple camera and a microphone. You can start with just an iPhone. If all you can afford is to start doing lives and sourcing guests or people around the country who can get on a live with you for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, start there. There's nothing wrong with that.
So we're not even editing it. It's just live. When it's done, I'm pressing upload, whatever. No, not upload. I'm trying to think of like.
I've only done it Instagram live once.
Yeah,
I don't even
like
remember what happened. But figure out how you want to be able to leverage that content afterwards. That's another tip is figure out a way to save everything. I have a lot of clients who want to cheap out on, let me send you a $80 drive. Is this okay? Yeah. Which is fine. If that storage works for the content that we're giving them, that's fine. But my point is, you want to, you can't really, it's a lot of work to archive and label and properly store everything, but at least store everything. And so what I mean by that is, even when you go live on Instagram Live, make sure you have that afterwards. Even if you don't use it for the first year, if you're starting to archive everything, which I do even for the studio, our Instagram is terrible. I'm going to be honest. We have a lot of leads that come in, a lot of people we're talking to every single day. Thankfully, it hasn't hurt our business, but I haven't had personally the time, and then I haven't invested in someone who can allocate 100% of their day to our social media because it's a beast. But we are still saving all of that content. We're saving clips from your shows. And so there's going to be a day where we're just flooding with tons of just old content we've collected from every single shoot that's happened here. We've already done 75 days of filming here.
Wow.
And I've barely been open. So yeah, it's very important to save everything. Because if you're in this game, and you should be for the long run, you're going to find a use for it.
This is going to be a technical question that I'm going to take home and use. How are you cataloging it? Because I'm looking at I'm shooting a 30, 45 minute video with you. I shot 3 this morning. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. And I've been here since 9 filming. How do I catalog that on Google Drive? Like, how do I know, okay, there was a really cool segment.
Yeah.
Is there a good way?
It depends on budget, because again, it's very hard. If you have a team that can, in terms of the metadata, log what's happening in your hour-long show, that's one way. I would say the easiest, best way is, and this is one thing you could do after your show, is take, maybe 4 minutes per episode to jog down some notes. What are some key things that were discussed? Or if you go back and watch, jog what happened, or maybe the time code.
Ooh.
Pay for, now it's easy. I think we even have it with our Dropbox, have a transcript for everything that you discuss, so that you can go back and search that later. And then at least you have a database of text
That's a good
where, 6 months, 8 months later, an editor can
search that.
all text, right, and figure out, oh, Larry talked about this subject.
Yeah.
You can go and kind of look at the transcript and figure out if that clip might be useful before spending the tons of time finding it, pulling it out. Another way though is it's a lot of time and effort, but you can pull these bits and pieces and archive it in a specific way. I forget, I think Casey Neistat talked about how he does that in the beginning. He pulls clips out, he exports stuff so that everything is archived in the way that he can source it 6 months from now, which is a lot of effort to do. But later on, you can then go, okay, pull up clips of me surfing. And you've got clips of every single day already archived. You can pull them out and you can see what you need, rather than having to figure out where that is and how to pull those moments or find those moments. So anyway, it depends. But I think AI can help. If you can create transcripts, that's probably the easiest, cheapest method.
I think that's what I'm going to do. That was a great idea. What I had been doing is when I get my footage from you and I get it downloaded, the first place I put it is, maybe CapCut, just to clean off the beginning and the end. But I'm getting better at, I think, just going with the flow and being okay if I make a mistake and being authentic. But it is uploading it to YouTube, and then I do spend, maybe it's a half hour, but I think it's worthwhile. I re-listen to it as it's done in YouTube before I'm posting it, and I'm going in one of the I don't know, TubeBuddy or whatever it is, there's like you can add the table of contents. So I'm going in and watching it and then pausing it and marking table of contents. So a little bit less time consuming might be then, okay, I'm going to go back through these 5 people I've interviewed. I know I talked about this topic, for example, realtors. I know I talked to these 5 realtors about first-time homebuyers and tips. Well, I can go to their YouTube and then the comments and the table of contents, and I can be like, okay, so on Sally's video at 8 minutes and 12 seconds, I talk about the tips. On Ian's at 14 minutes, I talk about it, and then I could go back, and so I can get to it. It was a little bit time consuming, but super important to do as it's happening, because 6 months from now or a year from now, when I do want to do that cumulative, really cool, like 20 different agents and their top homebuyer tips video, I want to have that categorized so I can get to it faster. Coming up with something, but I like the idea of transcripts because I can search for it easier. That's a good one. What's a mistake that podcasters, the people that are getting into it, and I guess one of them would be getting into it and then stopping, too quickly. But any mistakes? Like,
I would say a mistake is, and this is one thing I see people not doing. It's a tip too. Really, your call to action. So a lot of people think, especially if you're starting out with the show, that there's, I don't have an ad, that I'm doing in the middle of the show. I don't need a call to action, or I don't have anything that I'm selling, or I don't have. You should have multiple call to actions. If it's an hour or 30-minute long show throughout the show. And that can be as simple as telling people, hey, what do we see all the time on YouTube? What is it? Check mark. What is it? Because now it's not just about following. It's I'm blanking, but it's about
click-through rate?
No. It's not just about followers on YouTube, but adding. What do they do? The bell. No, the bell. Notification bell.
Notification
Yeah.
bell.
You notice
Yeah.
everyone says that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say your call to action is very, very important because that can be as simple as, hey, 30% of you, and this is what you see a lot on YouTube, like 50% of you aren't following me. Please stop the video and go do that right now. Hey, I am trying to reach 6,000 followers by the end of the week. Please go follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can add call to actions for just about anything, selling anything, getting people to go to a different platform. Hey, I would love to have 5 people follow me on LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn. And so then you have all this traction, all this engagement that starts on all these other platforms, and they all kind of serve each other. And so I would say that's a huge thing is everyone should be driving traffic.
Yeah, to other platforms. That is honestly something I have not done yet, or not done well yet. Maybe my call to action is lame. That's going to come out bad.
No.
It is like, hey, realtor Aaron, thanks for being on my show. How can they reach you? And they give them the contact information. That's not the call to action that I'm trying to accomplish.
Right.
Like,
right. A lot of times people, well, this is a reason too that a lot of times people have prepared intros. And you've probably seen this, and they might have the same intro, but that intro works.
Yeah.
And so they place that intro in the beginning of their show, and then they place, specific outros at the end of their show. And then that way you don't have to do it every time. But you can have 5 different outros for your show where you're, telling someone to go to your book or go to your website for a little lending.
You're giving me great ideas. Like I think so. One is the notification bell. Like subscribe, hit that bell so that if you've loved this content, you are going to get an alert when the next episode is out, so you can watch it.
Right.
I just did it, right?
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
Stop now and click the bell.
and scene. Stop now and hit the bell. That notification bell. But the call to action too. Like I now that you're saying that, I'm thinking. Like during my 30-45 minute, there's no reason why I can't have it cut to
your own
15-second commercial
right.
of, hey, I hope you've loved this content so far. If you're looking to buy or sell a home and you want to find out what that payment is going to be, you want to get pre-approved, reach out. Here's my contact information. And now back to Aaron.
This is Listen to Larry, and I've got to pay the bills some way. Nike's not sponsoring me, but I'm sponsoring myself. And to help me out, go to this website. And
I did watch the movie, and I was shocked that.
What movie?
Air, the Nike movie.
Oh, I don't think
he's making $400 million a year on the
Michael Jordan off of just the
Air Jordans.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
His mom had a goal and a vision for him. And when they signed him up with Nike, she said, that's fine. I want this signing bonus. I want the red Mercedes, SL Mercedes or something. But I want him to get residual revenue based on every shoe that Nike sells.
So he has ownership and then also gets
Jordan. So
gets some sort of royalty.
So every time an Air Jordan sells, he gets some of my money. And so they said like $400 million a year just on. I was like, that's brilliant. So it goes back to planning. Yeah. So let's see if I can recap. Planning, starting this infancy of a podcast, I want to have a goal in mind. And I think that's one of my things. Like if my goal also, then it would have, if I would have materialized that maybe more, I would have known like, okay, this is my call to action. So goal, audience, budget.
I don't think budget's that. Well,
Budget in
It
the
is-
sense of
it
maybe
is.
mindset too, of
Yeah.
knowing like this isn't gonna. I'm not gonna do one podcast and make revenue off of it.
Right.
But I'll say I shot that first day, and my third interview with the boutique property management, I already got a client from Tani. So my goal of being, I want to invite on professionals in the real estate industry, to level them up, to grow their business, got me that referral to that borrower. So I guess it did work. I just needed a call to action and that ad in the middle.
authenticity, I think we talked about.
Authenticity, yes.
But my memory is not great. So
No,
I need-
authenticity was after budget.
it's
It's
my
good.
girlfriend's job. She helps me out there.
Anything else? Like what? Anything else that's super important that you want to end with?
What do I say?
Well, I'll plug you. How about that? So, DreamX Studios, you can't see behind the scenes. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll put in you can see what this studio actually looks like. Every single guest that I've had come in to the studio, like jaw drop.
Yeah.
Like I think they think like, okay, podcast, this is going to be like a little bit better, like a camera. I remember one person that came in is like, I knew it wasn't going to be an iPhone because, but like to have 3 different cameras and the sound system and the lights, like it is such a legit, like I'm never going to have the budget to buy all of this and put this in my guest room. If I was doing this full time as a career, then maybe, but as a way to elevate my business, my brand, no, this is the perfect solution. And you have obviously real estate, but like you go across the platform of all kinds of businesses and entrepreneurs and probably social influencers, but we're in beautiful Newport Beach, California. I'm curious, like obviously it's great for me because I can drive in here a half hour, I can shoot for 6-7 hours, and I can leave, and all my content's done in, for the month in one day. But where are your clients coming from? Like, do you have your clients aren't just from Orange County?
Currently for the studio, they're supposed to be from Orange County. Currently, we're targeting just exactly in the 10-mile radius of our studio.
Yeah.
And we place the studio in a prime location for that reason. So yeah, hopefully, ideally, our customer base is within, I would say, a 25-mile range.
Okay.
Or the customers we're serving.
Yeah.
Actually, all the customers for the studio typically live within 10 miles of us. Yeah.
But you have some that fly in from all over.
That is true. We have gotten some customers who live out of state and they've come here to film just because they needed a space. And then we do, even I was on a call today and someone said that all of their friends and guests, most of them would be from LA. I didn't catch if she was in LA. So we do get a lot of questions about a studio in LA. But yeah, if we're doing our job right, most of the people who are calling us live within about 15 miles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur,
well, I will say we're opening studios in other cities, other states, and then we're also going to start, serving customers out of state in terms of other personal branding services we're going to offer. So we are not necessarily as a company just limited to Newport Beach.
Yeah. If they want to find out about your workshop, all your services that you're doing and what's evolving, like website, what's the email website address?
Yeah, dreamxstudios.com.
DreamXstudios.com.
Yeah, go to dreamxstudios.com. on multiple pages, you'll see our offers, our studios. You can click through and book. You can click through and schedule a call. If you're looking for a consult, if you're curious about content arbitrage, or if you want to discuss another project, you can connect with us there for sure. And then our Instagram for this studio is DreamX Newport Beach. I believe it's DreamX Newport Beach.
It is a beautiful studio. If you are in the Orange County area and you, like me, wanted, like, podcast was on your list for 2024, I encourage you, reach out, DM them, call them. You will be blown away. And I thank you, because I know next year when I look back at all of the content and great guests and people I've got to meet and experiences, just the fun of filming, it's been worth it so far, and this is only the beginning.
Awesome.
So thanks for coming on. I hope if you're watching this and you're thinking about creating a podcast, there were some great takeaways into planning. You can start small and you can grow from there. Tune in for the... If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, this is the podcast that you want to listen to. My name is Larry Bammer with One Real Mortgage, and I have great professionals here to interview to educate you on what's going on in the market.